Hey, I'm Nicolette Amarillas. I'm a strength coach and a posture and movement specialist. Let's talk about rest days. This is a question I get a lot with both my clients and also online. When to rest? What does a rest day technically mean? How do I know when to rest? Does the rest day change depending on my goal and the types of workouts that I'm doing? Why do I need to rest? These are all questions we're going to answer today. I want you to leave this video feeling like you know exactly when to rest and why the heck you're doing it. Let's first talk about different types of rest days. We have active rest days and we have passive rest days. Active rest days are days where you're still doing activity, light activity, that's not related to your weightlifting or your high intensity workouts like cardio as well. So that could be walking, it could be a light hike, it could be a bike ride, it could be a horseback riding session, it could be yoga or a Pilates class. The level of intensity of your active rest day definitely depends on your specific goals, but as well as your abilities. So if you're someone who is lifting 4 or 5 times a week, you're an athlete, then yes, maybe a hike is actually a good active rest day for you. But if you're someone that's just getting into exercise, maybe you are only lifting 1, 2, 3 times a week max, and you would call yourself a beginner and you tend to feel really sore after your workouts, then maybe a hike would actually be a workout for you. And instead, you should do a really light like yin yoga class or a light walk around your neighborhood. So active rest really is a range, and it very much so depends on who you are and your abilities. Now, a passive rest day would just be a do absolutely nothing rest day. I personally love these days, and for a lot of my clients, I schedule these. Not only physically, but mentally. I like there to be one day out of my week where I don't have to show up to anything. I don't have to show up to a workout or a class. I don't even have to stretch or mobilize. I like to have a day where I just have absolutely nothing. And a lot of my clients are busy professionals, and I like to also give them a day where they don't have to think about it. And if they end up doing something light, then great. If it becomes an active recovery, then awesome. But I think it is important, if you're someone who is working out at a high level, to have a day where you do absolutely nothing. For me, it's essential every single week. So why are rest days important? Now, the reason we're showing up to work out usually, right, is to get stronger or to improve our performance in some capacity, whether that's our speed, our strength, our body composition. If we have a certain goal, we have to be able to meet that same intensity with rest. When we show up to work out, we're essentially creating little tears in the muscles. So those tears need time to recover. Maybe you've heard the saying before that like you get stronger on your rest days. That's exactly what that means. Your body is repairing and rejuvenating during your rest. That is oftentimes when you're actually getting stronger. Our rest days also help us prevent injury. If you are overtraining, meaning you are training too many days a week, you are reaching a level of fatigue too often, you are putting yourself in a position, a risky position, where you could injure yourself. It's also just not sustainable to work out every single day. Maybe you could sustain that for a couple of weeks, max a couple of months, but at one point your body is going to stop being able to sustain that, and we want to create a schedule where you can actually sustain the volume of work over time. So when we work out, we're depleting our body of energy. This is a good thing. We're putting out energy when we work out. But this also then requires a replenishment of that depletion, especially when it comes to our glycogen stores. Rest days allow for that replenishment to our energy stores, and then that way it prepares us for the workouts that follow. And lastly, when it comes to rest days, of course, we need to rest because of our muscles and our joints, but we also have to think about our brain and our cognitive function, especially if we're doing movements like deadlifts and overhead presses and squats. All of these really challenging exercises, not only muscularly, but also on the nervous system. If we don't rest the nervous system, we're definitely going to continue to put stress on it. And again, that could lead to injury if we're constantly working under not only muscle fatigue, but also cognitive fatigue. So how do you know when you need a rest break? For me, it tends to be pretty obvious. If I wake up and I just feel sluggish, slow, I don't feel sharp, that's definitely a sign that I need to take a rest day. It's not so much for me muscle fatigue. I can have some sore muscles, kind of stretch through it, mobilize, and I can usually work through that. For me, it's more so a general fatigue that I start to feel that I know, if I do that exercise today, it's not going to be my best. Or if I do that big exercise today, I could injure myself. Those are the days that I definitely decide to take rest breaks. You might also have physical signs. Soreness, right? Like maybe you had a lower body day and it's been 2 days and your legs are still sore. That might be a good sign that you should probably take a rest break. Also, if you have nagging pain, so maybe you did some pull downs or some overhead presses and you have a little tightness through your neck, pain is definitely a good sign that your body's saying, hey, it's time to slow down a little bit. Give me a little bit of extra break. Let me replenish my body. Let me replenish my energy stores, and let's get back to it tomorrow or the next day. Now, here's one big qualm that a lot of clients have. We have the schedule that I create, the hopefully this is what happens schedule, right? The plan of all plans that we hope is going to happen. But guess what? Life happens. And usually our plan goes to... So if that happens to you, we have to also consider intuitive recovery. Now, of course, life gets in the way, and so our rest days might have to change, our workout days might have to change, but we also have to think about last minute, our workout days and rest days might have to change because we're not ready to work out again. So maybe if you're my client, I've scheduled you to lift Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday and Friday. It's Wednesday and you're feeling okay, but you're still really sore from Tuesday. And you come into Thursday morning and you're supposed to work out and you wake up and you are still super sore. It's time to think about intuitive rest days. Yes, your schedule says you need to work out, but do you have to? No. I would rather clients listen to their intuition and listen to their body and allow the schedule to be kind of like second in command. Your body and your intuition are first in command. So if your body is telling you you need a rest break, you gotta listen, regardless of your schedule. So now let's talk about actually scheduling rest days depending on your goal and your workout schedule. So we'll start first with anyone who is working out 4 times a week. So lifting 4 times a week and then doing cardio 1 to 2 times a week. If you're doing 4 days of lifting, I recommend doing 2 days and then 2 days and having a rest in between each of those 2 days. Now, it also depends on whether you're doing upper lower splits or if you're doing full body. But generally speaking, if you have 4 lift days, A and B together, C and D together with a rest day in between, and then you have 2 rest days after D. That equals 7 days. I often find that a rest day like on Wednesday might be necessary, but you can also do like a cardio HIIT class in the middle. So a high intensity type of class or a Pilates class or an intense hike or a bike ride, something that's not related to your lifts on that middle day. And then on those 2 rest days, either fully rest or have active recoveries. Or if you're working at a high level, one of those days could be another high intensity type of exercise that's not related to your lifting. So again, cycling, hiking, Pilates, a run, HIIT cardio, something like that on those days. Now, if you're doing 3 times a week lifting, I recommend 1 day of rest in between each of your lifts. So the same setup, it would be Monday, Wednesday, Friday with a Tuesday, Thursday rest from lifting, and then Saturday, Sunday rest from lifting. On those Tuesdays and Thursdays, again, you could do high intensity cardio, you could do more intense Pilates or running or cycling, and then on the weekend, either do 2 full rest days, depending on how intense those 5 days during the week were, or have one of those weekend days be a more intense cardio session. Honestly, again, rest breaks and what you do on your rest days definitely depends on the goal, which is kind of hard to dive into in full today. But in general, that's kind of how I would break down lifting sessions. Now, if you're working out 1 to 2 times a week, then I would hope that you're also incorporating other forms of movement. So let's say you're working out Tuesdays and Thursdays, and that's your lift days, okay? But you still have Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and the weekend. I would say maybe Monday, Wednesday, or Wednesday and Friday, you're getting a more high intensity type of cardio day, or again, cycling, hiking, Pilates, yoga. You're doing something that challenges you but isn't your lift. And then on the weekends, again, it could be 2 full rest days, or you could have 1 active day out of those rest days that you are, again, doing some type of high intensity interval cardio or some type of activity that's challenging but isn't your lift. Overall, it's just really important to remember that your rest days are not a sign of defeat. Needing a rest day does not mean you're weak. In fact, taking rest days is what makes you stronger. It is what dictates your body's response to exercise in your future workouts. If you do not rest, you are going to stop seeing results. You are going to hit burnout. You could injure yourself. There's so many negative impacts to not resting properly that it's just not worth it. So make sure that yes, you have a plan and a schedule like I've outlined, but you allow yourself the room to use your intuition when you feel like you need rest, even when it's not scheduled. I'll leave you with one tip. This is what I do every morning when I wake up, whether I have a workout scheduled or not. I'll wake up, maybe I'm still in bed, have my eyes closed, kind of think about my day, everything that I have going on, and I ask myself, what does my body need today? And I just listen. Usually it's the first thing that comes up. Many times I follow my schedule because I've hopefully outlined a schedule that matches my life, my sleep, my diet, and follows along with what I need. But there are definitely days where I ask myself that question, I have my eyes closed, and I think, man, I'm so tired. Or, wow, I'm really sore. I'm much more sore than I anticipated. And those are the days that I use intuitive rest. And I say, hey, you know what? Let's look at my schedule. I'll take a look at my computer or my phone. I'll see how I can move things around and adjust so that I can still get in that lift, maybe the next day or the following. Or maybe I switch. Maybe I'm supposed to do a lift, but instead I do a hit run or I go on a hike instead, so that I'm still active. This is all a part of being able to plan your day intuitively. So just make sure that you're listening to your body and you're listening to yourself. Your body is so smart and it is constantly speaking to you. You have to slow down and quiet so that you can actually listen to what the body needs, because more often than not, it's going to tell you exactly what it needs. You just have to give yourself space to listen. If you have any questions about rest days, please feel free to comment below. I'm here to help. I'm happy to further dive into this. If there's anything about this video that was confusing or that I didn't touch upon, please let me know. I'm Nicolette Amarillas. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you again soon.